Here's what's next on the Nice Guys on Business.
Every single member that joins up to a software company, or effectively a software company, gets a personal one-on-one call from me to welcome them to the platform. And like everyone says, do the things that scale, and don't trade your time for money. And I get that, and I appreciate that, and I do that in certain areas. But believe me, the minute you get on a call with someone, it surprises the hell out of them, and you've got them for life as long as you keep performing for them.
You know what always cheers me up? Rolled up aces over kings. Check raising stupid tourists and taking huge pots off of them. Playing all night high limit hold'em at the Taj. Stacks and towers of checks I can't even see over. And the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Need an education on how to grow your business? The Nice Guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Hey, Nice Guy community, welcome back. It's Wednesday today, right?
Yes, it is Wednesday all day today. Did you hear yesterday's episode?
It was crazy. It was a little weird. It was a little off. It was good. And
sorry for all the people that we offended.
Yeah, Julie Riesler had a great talk towards the end. If you made it that far, it was really good.
I think probably somewhere around the glitter on Ash Wednesday and the dildo as a mezuzah, probably you tuned out somewhere in there.
And if you don't listen to our Tuesday and Thursday episodes, you've just tuned out now, so it's all good. Whatever.
Yeah. I was afraid that yesterday's for sure would have got us banned from everything that was podcasting good.
But it hasn't happened yet. So.
Does Libsyn ban you for saying like potentially offensive things? I wasn't offensive to me, but
no.
Then again, I'm what kind of barometer do I have? I'm a guy that stays in my pajamas all day. I barely get out of my house.
I'm sure they have many podcasts that are far more offensive than ours. So yes.
Yeah, like how about that podcast? I know we're not going to talk about in depth because we got an interview day today, but how about that one that we discovered it was number 42? I think the title was just Guys That We Fucked.
Yes, exactly, Guys We Fucked. Yeah, and it's huge. Somehow people really love to listen to it. Apparently.
So I'm feeling that if we are offending anybody, it's ridiculous. Go listen to that one. Talk about offensive.
Yeah,
offensive
it's all
without
relative.
Yeah, I mean, offensive without a purpose. Offensive.
Everything is relative, yeah. So if we are offending you, you change the podcast. We don't care.
No. I think you just did it. Maybe you should bleep that one out.
You think? Okay, I could do
just that. The word.
Just the one word? Okay.
Yeah. Keep make a note in your OneNote, Evernote, Stop Note, Start
bleep
note.
that out. Okay.
Yeah, just go ahead and...
We do have an interview today, by the way.
Ah, shit, that's right. Today's interview day is today at Mark Asquith?
Mark Asquith, yeah. He started out with John Lee Dumas, right?
Yeah. I don't know if he started with John Lee Dumas, but he developed a program with him to build podcasters' websites. However, his overall business is called Excellence Expected. www.excellenceexpected.com.
Excellence-expected.com.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, we'll make sure we put a link in the show notes along with our 12 worries every entrepreneur has. Sorry, Strick, you got to put another one in there too.
Okay.
But he talks about if you can't really figure out, sometimes you have this pulling, nagging desire to start a business, but you just have no idea what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
Mark is a guy that can help you put the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together. He can determine what you're good at. He can determine what your strengths are, and he can help guide you to a direction that you will be able to start and successfully run a business that is something that's right in your power zone. So we do spend a lot of time on the podcast talking about that today. We talk about personal branding. We talk about podcasting. We just talk about how it is to build a business and follow your dreams. So I think it's a great interview. I think it would be one that's worth tuning into today.
No, he's got so many interesting things going on. His website is just chock full of information for entrepreneurs and how to grow your business and how to focus your business and podcasts and like the 14-day guide to cutting your working hours. And I mean, it's just the sheer volume of stuff he has.
And he gives away it's a sheer volume of, if you open your mouth and just insert all of the stuff that he's about to give you, it will be amazing for you.
Right.
So take a moment, head over to his website, click on the show notes, listen to the interview first, and then we have a really cool interview with Mark Asquith today. So can we get to it? Or let's first of all, let's read the promise statement. We didn't do the promise statement. Yeah. Promise statement is to deliver provide a learning experience that is entertaining and adds value to your life. If you feel like we are up to that, that would be great. You can reach out to us at DJ Doug or at Nice Guy on Biz. However, I'm going to follow Jay Bear's philosophy from a couple weeks ago when he was on the show, and he said, you learn the most from the people that complain about you.
True.
So if you don't like something that we're doing, if we really offended you yesterday, go back again and listen to yesterday's episode first before you make the determination if we really offended you. Take my word, we offended you. If we did, could you just let us know? We won't necessarily fix it, but we would like to know what you think. Because we're going to determine whether we're going to block you from listening to the show. Can we do that?
Or we might fix it. No, we can't block anybody from listening to the show. It's public.
Can we block them from contributing to the show?
Sure. We don't have to mention them on the show. We make our choices of who we mention or not mention.
Okay. So if you would like to be a vocal fan of the show, what was that statistic? The people that love Howard Stern listen to him an hour a day. The ones that don't like him listen an average of 90 minutes a day.
Right. Exactly. So we don't care which category you fit in as long as you're listening.
That's right. All right, so let's get to the interview. Mark Asquith here on the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Oh, hey, we're here thanks to the gracious and goodnessness of the C-Suite Radio Network. So thank you for having us on your network. Maybe the last show. When you have a business called Excellence Expected, you know all eyes are on you to deliver. And today's guest, Mark Asquith, lives up to that title. He is excellent. And as a matter of fact, he's a good podcaster. He's an excellent podcaster. He's a great speaker, a coach, and a community leader. Mark has some cool tools to show you, and he is here on the Nice Guys on Business today to share them. Welcome to our little old show, Marco.
Hello, Doug. How are you, sir?
I am doing wonderful. It's what's really going to be horrible is that you have a better voice than me because you got that English accent. You know, all the lady listeners are going to now just tune me out and tune you in.
Well, if it's any consolation, I've met you, and for the ladies listening, Doug's much better looking and much taller.
Hey, so Nice Guy Community, I think I sent it to you, Mark, also, the cover art. So if you look in your little Skype inbox right now, you're wearing it's almost like a very dark blue suit, or I don't know, what shade of blue is that called? Do you know?
I would say that's kind of a royal blue, I guess it's a navy blue, perhaps.
Okay, so you got a navy blue suit on. Now, because you are from overseas, I would call that a vest, but what would you call that?
Oh, we call that a waistcoat.
Very interesting. I've had a rolling discussion with one of our Funkin' fans. Her name is Stacy Sherman about, do we call that a vest or do we call that a waistcoat? And I do believe that it should be called a waistcoat, but I just like giving her a whole bunch of shit by telling her it's a vest.
Oh, amen to that. I do that sort of stuff all the time with my American friends as well. Do you want to hear a funny story about that picture?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So that's the picture that gets thrown around. When everyone says, can you send me a professional picture, which I generally don't do. I usually send one in my podcast website's T-shirt or a geek T-shirt or whatever. And when they ask for a professional picture, that's the picture that I send. Now, the funny thing about that picture is it looks like I'm doing a really professional speaking gig and I'm doing something on stage and got the audience. And I'm like, I wasn't. I was at a wedding telling a joke.
You were the best man giving a toast.
No, not even the best man. The music went off. The DJ struggled. The groom was struggling to fill the space and the silence and grabbed me from the back of the room, thrust a microphone into my hand and said, tell a joke. And that was the photo that was captured during that joke, which now I use for everything.
You do have a little bit of a shit. If I don't fill this space, I'm going to be totally fucked. Look about you, but it's a Sennheiser microphone. If I know that correctly, and being a guy that has been at many weddings, not only as a guest but also as the guy DJing it, that is a horrible feeling when you have and not that this was your fault at all that the music went out, but when the music stops or when somebody pulls the plug or if there's an issue, you're like, oh fuck, what am I going to do now? Let's get Mark up to say a couple of words.
And I'm not a funny guy. Like there's nothing funny about me apart from how I dance, and there really is nothing that I can say that would make a lot of pissed off wedding attendees laugh. And true to form, the joke that I delivered did not make them laugh. So it was. It did prove that the nice shade of red in the face goes with a nice shade of blue on the suit, though. So that's a win.
Yeah. So speaking of which, so you have the microphone in your hand at the wedding. Again, Nice Guy Community. Go over to the cover art, and you'll see a nice picture of Mark in his waistcoat and his jacket and cufflinks and a pocket square. I had Jay Bear on the show yesterday, and he is a pocket square wearing fiend as well. And I just can't pull out. You know what the hardest part of the pocket square? It's actually just folding it.
Oh, isn't it just? Well, it's like the tip of the iceberg, though, mate. What you'll see is it's like the goose going crazy the swan going crazy under the water. So the pocket square that I've got on there, like, it looks pristine on the top, but inside is just a world of shit because it just looks terrible. It's just scrunched together, and the top of it looks perfect. Everything else is terrible.
Well, all you have to do is just do what I do. Just take a really good hanky and then just staple it to a piece of cardboard. Just throw it in your...
You're a genius.
So again, we'll get to the real main message of this, but I guess I really have to find out something very important. Again, that you have a microphone in your hand. What is if you had to sing karaoke, what would be your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, now come on. So I've got a few, actually. I've got a couple. It depends how drunk I am. So the first one that I'd go with is probably Go West, King of Wishful Thinking.
Oh, okay.
Smash that one out all day long. And then if it was a quiet karaoke night, I'd chuck a bit of Meatloaf on to entertain them for 12 minutes. And then,
nice.
But if I really wanted to go to town, it's the classic, innit? Ray Parker Jr. Put a bit of Ghostbusters on.
Ghostbusters! Oh my gosh, that's great. So I was thinking more for a like Dexy's Midnight Runners, Come On Eileen, or something like that. No, not you, not you.
I know I'm English, but no. I'm an old school rock guy. If it's not got a dirty old guitar in it, then I'm usually not interested.
Speaking of guitars, at the beginning of your podcast, in Nice Guy Community, Mark has a bunch of different audio clips, and you can get those right on his website. We'll make sure we put the information in the show notes for us. But you got this monster guitar player wailing at the beginning, at the intro of each one of your lessons learned, or lessons that you're about to impart. Is that you playing the guitar, or what?
So actually, that's seasons one. Volume 1, seasons 1 to 4, which are the interviews, has this rock riff at the beginning. The volume 2, season 1 doesn't have that because that's more of a learning piece. It's more of a course, but I'm going to be bringing that intro back for one of the next seasons that I'm going to be doing, and that's actually a band that I used to be in, and I actually wrote the song that's from. That's an intro from a song called One Way Street, and it's a good friend of mine, one of my closest friends, who was the guitarist playing that, and basically I chopped the intro when I first did my podcast, chopped the intro and did a bit of a rinse and repeat on it twice through the progression, and put it at the beginning, and it's just stuck ever since, actually. But when I listen to the full song, it freaks me out because I just expect my own voice to come in and introduce the podcast, which it never does.
Oh, it's great. It's a great intro. I love it. Again, we'll make sure we put information on how to get a hold of not only that, but the learning that actually comes after that guitar solo. So let's get into it. So tell the Nice Guy Community what it is that you do. I mean, there's so many directions we can travel, but I want to start where you think we should start best, with what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a funny one. I always struggle to describe what I do, and the easiest way to do it now is to sort of tell you what I do, quote unquote, for my real jobs, and then what I do for my own kind of satisfaction. So I've got two specific businesses. Number one, I own a design and brand agency called Hacksaw, which is here in the UK, and we do design work, we do brand work, we do graphic work, we do ad work and digital work. So build platforms, we build all sorts of different things online for all sorts of people, from grassroots businesses up to people like Adobe and Condé Nast. We're just doing, I don't even know if I can say this, but one of the world's biggest authors, you'll certainly know him, just doing the new cover for his book. So that's the kind of thing that we do. I also run podcast websites with John from EO Fire. He's a good friend and business partner in podcast websites, which is we turn WordPress into a software as a service platform for podcasters, and we just sort of supercharge WordPress for podcasting, which is a really super powerful platform, just to enable people to get their own voice out there and create that expert status if they've never done anything online before. Somewhere in the middle of that, I have Excellence Expected, which is my own personal brand that helps people really in the first 2 years of business. So we cut through the noise. We tell people straight. It's very straight talking. That's the brand promise, is straight talking, no nonsense. And through that brand, I do personal coaching. I do my podcast accelerator. I've got the Excellence Expected movement, which is the Slack community, and free coaching on Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern. So that's my whole thing. That's my outlet for just helping people really get off the backside and start their own businesses.
What's so crazy about that is I tried to add up the hours that you spend doing all that, and I lost track around 112. So you give yourself a 20 hours a week to sleep, pretty much?
Well, I'm an old school Bon Jovi fan, Doug. So I sleep when I'm dead and all that. But I'll be honest with you, if I don't sleep soon, I'll be dead a lot sooner. But no, it's a funny one actually, and this is sort of a learning point. Is that It's a funny one because I've spent the last couple of years building the Excellence Expected brand, and actually only decided to monetize that even late in 2016. I didn't do anything with it on purpose. I wanted to just see what people wanted. The other interesting kind of byproduct of doing that is that I was able to work in that business. I treat Excellence Expected very much as a media business. I was able to work in that for a couple of years and really find out where the time was being sucked versus the things that move the needle. So only earlier this month, I actually hired the first team member at Excellence Expected to do the low impact but high importance kind of tasks, the stuff that you've got to do but that don't necessarily move the needle, put the oil in the engine, if you like. So it is a challenge. Getting everything done is a challenge, but there's a big learning point around what do you feel is important versus what's actually important, and it's finding out that separation is a bit of a challenge.
I love that you have on your website a blog about what to do to make money if all you know is that you want to be working you want to work for your own person, you don't want to work for somebody else. Do you find that pretty common? Someone saying, "I want to do my own thing, I just don't know what the hell to do."
Oh, heck yeah. And you so many people say you got to follow your passion, which is great. I agree, you got to follow your passion. But my passion's comics. Can I make any money reading comics or reviewing comics or selling comics? No, I can't. So I wrote a piece called "Be What You Want to Be Without Knowing What You Want to Do."
Yeah, that was the one I was referring to. It was great. And maybe you can send me, or what I'll do is I'll put a link in the show notes so everybody has access to that. Because it was like, oh my gosh, this is totally me.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you ever so much. I really appreciate that. The URL for that actually is just excellence-expected.com/B, which is BE. And it's a funny one because I still don't know what I want to do. I genuinely don't. And I actually don't know what I'm good at. Someone says, "What are you good at?" Well, you've got a design and brand agency. You've got, you've built websites, used to code websites. You must be good at that. What do? You got a podcast. You must be a good podcaster. And actually, I just think, I think what I am is I just always wanted to be, and I didn't realize this, I always wanted to be a communicator and someone that had a bit of freedom. And actually the vehicle to doing that kind of doesn't matter.
Right. Right.
And the standard kind of employee mindset, which there's nothing wrong with, is that I want to be financially secure, and therefore I must do a job. And, us as entrepreneurs think a little bit differently insofar as we know we want to be free. We want to be, whether that's location free, whether it's financially free, whether it's fulfillment free. We just want to be free of something and fulfilled. So what I'm going to do is anything I can to achieve that. And I think that's the big barrier when people start that transition into self-employment. They feel as if they have to do either what they've always done or what other people around them are either telling them to do or are doing, So I do think you've got to just have this eye on, actually, what do I want to be as a person? And actually, the business is kind of a byproduct of that. If you can solve someone's problem, and if you can be passionate about solving that problem, that's great. But ultimately, you need to know what you want to be first.
I think that's so, it's really deep. I mean, it really does. I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And I always say that. I'm 52 years old, and I look at my life and I just say, I've always been the kind of guy that has jumped and then just going to say, oh, I know, okay, I don't have a chute on, but I know that something is going to happen before I hit the ground, that we're going to figure this out. And ultimately, if you have a positive attitude and you make good connections along the way, I mean, I've met you, I've met Jeffrey, I've met so many amazing people over the last year. I mean, I just named just two of them, but I literally have met hundreds of people over the last year, and they have kind of helped guide me. And I know people say, well, that means you're a part of somebody else's plan rather than your plan. I'm like, no, the fuck, it does not mean that. It means that I have the confidence to know that I don't need somebody else's paycheck sent in my direction in order for me to be successful. And it's not just about the money. It's got to be about the other things that you want to be able to accomplish in your life that would contribute to you being, quote unquote, a success in your life. Can you kind of expand on that a little?
Absolutely. And the world runs on connections. It's connections and community and relationships. And, you can never underestimate what the power of those connections will bring you. For example, I started the podcast Excellence Expected with no idea of whether I wanted to monetize it or whatever. People were asking me the questions that I decided to answer. And I decided to do it rather than answering the same question 15, 16 times. I'd just record it, stick it on a podcast and interview someone about it. And, off you go. You're sort of solving it on a one-to-many basis. And yeah, I could have said, well, this is my podcast. This is what I'm going to do. It's a little hobby and I'm going to try and go down the sponsorship route and I'm going to make my money that way. But then, you get the opportunity. I got the opportunity to work with John. I struck up a good friendship with John, and suddenly you create podcast websites and you're monetizing it through an entirely new business.
Yep.
And that comes from having a receptiveness to being an entrepreneur on fire, shooting the shit, getting along, talking about whiskey and talking about the other stuff that you're into, and then suddenly realizing, actually, wait a sec, we could probably do something like that. That was not in the plan at all. It was just
right. I love that. That's what excites me more than almost anything, is getting involved in a situation where you're on the tail end of the conversation. You're like, oh my God, I just discovered the next thing, or whatever, for me, not in the world, but the next thing for me. And what a great feeling when you know that you are clicking with somebody and you're having a really good conversation, and then it goes beyond where you even anticipated it would going, and then they buy into the idea as well. That to me is gold.
Oh, it really is. And this is a funny thing about business and podcasting and generally life, this idea that when you start up in business, you look to these people as kind of people on the next level. You look at Jeff, you look at John, you look at Mr. Ducker, you look at all sorts of different people that. And actually, they're all just people. They're people. I've got all of their cell phone numbers in my phone. They're all good guys. You can drink beer with them. And actually, I'm just a guy. I'm literally sat in Barnsley now, which is a tin pot little grey town in the north of England. And if you don't have the willingness to go out and say, look, here's what I do. How can I help you? What can we do potentially to help your audience? Basically, look, let's just see whether we get along. They are all just people. And it baffles me that people don't do that. People are afraid of doing it. And I understand why they're afraid, but it's just the classic. The worst thing that can happen is someone will say no.
Well, let me throw this at you though, because again, this isn't a part of where I was heading with this conversation, but it's a really interesting component to the next level, and that is, how do you separate all the bullshitters from the legit people that want to have conversations with you? Because you, I'm sure, very similar to me, and you're further down your career than I am, but you I'm sure get the same. Let's just open up a conversation and talk for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. I'm like, fuck, I could spend literally my entire day just trying to drown out the noise, because everybody wants to have a conversation with me, as I'm sure they want to have a conversation with you. How do you filter? Where do you know to halt that bullshit and just say, okay, let's have a conversation. This makes sense. And then I know how to make it click. But how do you filter out that noise?
That's a really good question. So there's a couple of things that I'd say on that one. The first one is, and the real simplistic way of looking at it is, if someone's just asking something, can I jump on a call to pitch you? Can I jump on a call to ask you some advice? You think, well, actually, I don't really know you. Get to know me a little bit. What part of my content did you like that drew you to me? Like, why do you want my advice? And actually,
that's
because
good.
The content that I provide, I've probably already answered it. And if I haven't, let's not jump on a call, because all you want is free consulting. Let me write some content or do a podcast that addresses it. You get your answer, but so does everyone else. So, that's a real big thing. Just this concept of just, if someone asks, and this is the thing with, if you were to try and, one of the earliest examples is I went to Guy Kawasaki when I started my podcast up. I was, Guy, can we have a chat? Nothing in it. I just want to teach people about startups. By the way, let's make the angle the art of social media, because you just happen to have a new book out that's called The Art of Social Media. Quid pro quo, let's help you out. I've got an audience. You're Guy Kawasaki. Let's be fair, you don't need my audience. But it would be nice for everyone to do it. And he did it. We jumped on and got a good quality episode out of it. So, you got to figure out what people are asking and why they're asking, and if they just want free shit, because that stands out a mile. But then the second thing is, you've got to really think about how people talk when you are talking to them. And what I mean by that is, I had a call with, I can't remember specifically when. I had a call with one of a very big entrepreneur. I'll not mention the name, but it was maybe about 3 weeks ago. And the cell phone rang, and I answered the phone. And it was like, it's such and such. I was like, oh, holy shit, hello.
Wait a minute, let me clear my schedule.
Yeah, what's going on here? And I was like, wait a minute, I've only got 5 minutes because I'm watching The Office, and it's a good one.
No,
I'm joking. I do love The Office. But the UK office, by the way, not the US.
I just saw what's that guy's name that leads that show?
Ricky Gervais.
Yeah. I didn't. He just made or not just, but they made a movie also where he's a guy selling ladies' feminine products to companies.
You got it. Man, it's the best show I've ever seen.
That is such an uncomfortable movie. The entire movie, I'm thinking, oh my god, this guy is making me so uncomfortable. I was literally watching by myself, and I'm thinking, this movie. I'm just uncomfortable even with myself just watching it because he just does some embarrassing things.
Man, you should watch the original Office series. So the David Brent character that's in that, he started in 2001. The funny thing is, the first season of the original UK Office, it was done that well that no one believed that it was a staged show. They believed it was an actual, genuine documentary, and it was just done that well. So yeah. Anyway, that's The Office. Sorry.
I was trying to find that.
No, my bad. I digress.
Life on the Road. The name of the movie was Life on the Road. It actually came out in 2016, August of 2016. I'm just looking up some of the.
It did.
I can't believe it didn't even get a great review. The movie was fucking awesome. It was just so uncomfortable.
People don't get it. That's why. Honestly, it's like Marmite. It's so divisive. People either love it or really hate it. It really is that good. Anyway, the phone rang.
Yeah,
I guess get this phone call, and. It was by a guy who you'd pay $1,000 for an hour of his time, and it was startling because he literally, for the first 20 minutes, I was on the phone for 35 minutes. The first 20 minutes, he literally just asked how he could help me. He was like, "Tell me about this," and I was the first 5 minutes I thought it was being courteous, so I'm doing the top level stuff. He's like, how's it going? I'm like, yeah, it's good, it's busy, we're doing this and this. And then his next question is, well, no, tell me specifically what product you're launching and what are your problems, what can I do? And I got essentially free coaching.
Yeah.
And the reason that I mentioned that is that to address the question that you asked, which is how do you sniff the bullshit out, is I will pretty much do anything I can to help him now, because he was so gracious, and not only that, but followed it up with emails and in forums. He was very gracious with that, and it wasn't just about the ask. And let's be fair, the person's got a name where he can ask, and you would still do it because you think it would be good for you, but it didn't. That's something that's maybe taken 3 years to build up to that phone call. This idea that you get to know someone and you really you see each other at events once every year or twice every year. To sniff out the bullshit is you got to look out for the ask. Are people just asking for things all of the time? And then follow that up with how do they actually talk to me when I'm on the phone with them, or I'm on an email chain? How are they addressing things? Are they asking things about me? And I'm talking really inquisitive things, not just the cursory stuff. And the more you build that, the more you'll start to figure out who's genuine and who's not. Because let's be honest, you'll get it yourself, Doug. How many times do you get pitched, can I come on your podcast because I've got a new book coming out?
A lot. That's what I'm saying, and I think it's part of the conversation. I think it's part of getting to be a good or a better judge of character within this space. I think in my entertainment business, I can sniff out bullshit, before it even approaches me. But in this business, it's like, wow, you get hit so many different ways and so many different times. And all I want to do, it sounds like the same as you, I want to provide value back. I'm not necessarily looking for what can I get out of this, although back in my brain somewhere it says, hey, if I have a relationship with this guy, maybe down the road something could work out. And that's kind of how I felt with Jeffrey. It was like he was calling me and he was talking to me, and I really didn't know what his motivation was. And then at a certain point I just said, I'm just going to ride along with this because I like what he's saying. He seems to be honest and genuine. I'm honest, and I know me. I'm an honest and genuine guy. And for me, okay, let's see if I can help him. And if it ultimately comes back to reward me, great. If it doesn't, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Fine, I got another contact in my arsenal of amazing contacts, and that's where it is. And so it has evolved into this money-making venture. And I think a lot of those things over the years, it's just very interesting that how things evolve nowadays because of social media, because of technology, and because of stuff like this podcast. It's crazy how many great contacts you can just make.
Oh, it really is. It really is. I attribute my entire network to, number one, creating the podcast, and number two, building podcast websites on the back of building the podcast. Without that, we've got hundreds of members, and each one of them I like to get to know. This is a funny thing about the business that we run at podcast websites, is that every single member that joins up to a software company, or effectively a software company, gets a personal one-on-one call from me to welcome them to the platform. And like everyone says, do the things that scale, and don't trade your time for money. And I get that, and I appreciate that, and I do that in certain areas. But believe me, the minute you get on a call with someone, it surprises the hell out of them, and you've got them for life as long as you keep performing for them.
No, I agree. The human element to me is everything. Leading a high touch in a high tech environment in today's world, it is paramount to success, and I really see that. I see that happening. Let me move on to this, Mark, because I know that you touched on it just briefly about your comic book thing. So if you weren't doing this and you could follow your dream, putting money aside for a moment, what would you be doing? I mean, you didn't say when you were a little kid, I think I'm going to grow up and be a personal development coach or a software engineer or anything, or maybe you did. So help me with that.
Do you know, it's an interesting question, that, Doug, and I often struggle to answer it. The reason is I genuinely didn't know. I honestly didn't know. So to put some context to that, I'm live in Barnsley, and I'm from this little town called Barnsley. I'm fortunate enough to travel and see a lot of the world, and because I come from this kind of area, I always grew up with not that much money. Money was always this big deciding factor. You can do this or you can't do this, depending on the financial situation. That was always the motivator. So I never wanted to do anything. I never wanted to be anything other than something that made sure that I could remove that problem. That was all I was interested in when I was younger. So I chased the wrong type of money. I do a whole sort of set of content on the website about bad money coming into the business for the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. And it's based on that experience. So actually, to answer the question, I didn't want to be anything. I didn't know what I wanted to do, because everything that I knew and everyone that I was brought up around was just so motivated by getting to the next piece of finance. So I think that shaped this whole just be a communicator concept, and just this enjoy being yourself, because wait a sec, I'm being myself and earning money doing it. How the heck does that work? Like no one ever said you could do that. So yeah, I don't think I actually wanted to be anything, which I don't even know if you've had that answer before.
No, that's a great, it's we got Guy Kiyosaki wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. Was that the name of the book? I can't remember if that's the name of the book or just the name of the characters in the book. But he does spend a lot of time talking about chasing bad money, chasing good money, and what an interesting concept. And you hit it right on the money right there.
Yeah, you've got to be aware of what the good money is and what the bad money is. We've all had bad money through the business. There's no doubt about it. We've all put the wrong money into the business somewhere.
Hey, spend a couple of minutes with me. Just I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and I just want you to give me your knee-jerk response and take maybe 10 or 15 seconds to answer. Just again, the first thing that comes to mind. Be relatable for me, Mark. What do you suck at?
Swimming.
Okay.
No, I suck at delegation. I'm not very good at that. I suck at delegation. It's something I have to practice, which sounds so weird.
Yeah, well, as an entrepreneur, we all know how to do it best ourselves, so it's very hard to delegate. I appreciate that. Be transparent. How did you pay your bills when you first got going?
I actually had saved up some money, believe it or not. I was a contractor. So between employment and self-employment, I was a freelancer for 6 months. And at age 23, went to earning 6 figures from earning nothing. So I saved up 20 grand over the course of a couple of months and used that to get me through the first 6-7 months of business.
Wow, that's great. All right, be confident. What do you do as an entrepreneur that's as good as it gets?
Tell it how it is. That is the best thing that I can do. I will always tell you straight, and I excel at cutting through the bullshit and giving people the strategies that they need around the truth.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. You've just stepped into the no BS zone. I think that's really important. Be humble. What experts do you need to call upon to make shit happen when shit's just not going down properly? I'm a big thinker, and I'm a strategic thinker, and I see big picture. I see stepping stones from here to the next big thing. But sometimes I need to get
I need to get tactical feedback. I need to get detail. How do I get from this to this stepping stone? And I sometimes need direction on the detail.
Yeah, the details are really challenging for me. I'm a big picture guy. I just don't know how to get shit done. Sometimes I'm like, I know I need to get over there, but I don't know where that bridge is. So I'm going to figure out how to make this bridge. Okay, so I sent you 4 words in your little Skype chat box there, and I'm going to ask you to put them into priority order. As a business owner and as an entrepreneur, put these words into priority order. Here they come: employees, customers, products, systems.
Okay. And I'm going to attack this from a longevity perspective. So for the long term of your business, not to pay the bills today. Employees, customers, systems, and products.
Okay, and tell me why you put, and not that there's a wrong or a right, but tell me why you put employees at the front.
Just mainly because you've got to build a team of people that will allow you to have the space to do what you do best. And without the right employees believing in themselves, you're never going to be able to build a long-term business.
Man, awesome. Man, you totally are in the no BS zone when you're talking to Mark, and I love having you on the show. Mark, if our Nice Guy community wanted to get in touch with you and get more information on what you do and how you do it, how can they do that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first up, thank you, Doug. It's been a real pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. And the easiest place to get me is excellence-expected.com. That's got links to everything else that I do as well. And then if you want to email me direct, I will reply to every email that you send me. So just Mark, MARK, at excellence-expected.com.
We'll make sure that we put all of Mark's contact information, his website, and all the other great stuff that he's got on our show notes, in addition to putting his waistcoat on our show notes, cover art.
Get that vest on there.
Cover art. Yeah, the vest. Exactly. Let me ask you a personal question before I let you go. You have your phone anywhere near you?
I can grab it. Yep.
Okay, great. Do you have an iPhone or something inferior?
I do have. I've got a Nokia 3310. No, I've got an iPhone.
I was going to say that Nokia 3310. I don't even know what
they're releasing that. Honestly, no shit.
What is? My mom has a StarTech. I think she still has the Motorola StarTech, the flip phone.
Wow.
Not 100% sure it's actually in use anymore. She's still using T9 texting, which is
no way.
Better. I don't think anybody even knows that anymore. It's kind of like Cobalt, Fortran, and all other computer languages. Go to your photo app for a second. What's the last thing you took a picture of?
The last thing I took a picture of is yesterday at a Tech Town meeting in Barnsley, the little town that I'm in, focusing on how to get startups and tech to work better with education so that kids have got better opportunities. And then the one before that is whiskey. So
that's good.
Gives you a cross section.
go to your texting app. What is the last text you either sent or received?
Last text I sent or received. Also, hi and good afternoon from Jessica Cooperman, who's from JK Media, who does podcast sponsorships for people.
Nice. Where you go? Hey, and just because I'm curious as to guys in the UK and how they live and act, what is your favorite UK curse word?
Oh God, could be a while. What is it? Probably shit stain. I say it to my little brother or something. Like if he does something, I'm like, "You little fucking shit stain."
That's a good one. See, I keep hearing the word bullocks. I'm not really 100% sure. What the hell is that? Like balls? What is that?
Yeah. So it's bollocks with an O. So it's B-O.
Bollocks. I got it.
You can contextualize that in so many ways. So it can be a light-hearted one if you stub your toe, you're like bollocks, that hurt. Or if someone's really giving you grief, you'd be like, "Listen, mate, that's bollocks." And so you can, you can throw that one in there. I'm trying to educate actually everyone in America, one person at a time, on what bollocks is, because no one gets it when I come over there.
No, I totally am with you, and this will be a continuing episode right now. So I'm going to have to try to continue the language barrier gap, between to bridge the gap in between what the US says and what UK says. So
you should reach out to Ramona Rice. She runs a couple of podcasts, and she's convinced that a show about the difference in meanings between words between US and UK languages would be a genius show.
I think I know Ramona, and I think that she would be a valuable addition to the show also. I think you're right. I have to get her on, and we do nothing other than just talk about the differences in the UK versus the US curse words.
You know it. It sounds perfect. Hey, I forgot you met Ramona down at DC Podfest, didn't you? Are you heading to Podfest in Florida?
I think I am going to the one in Florida. I think I am trying to get a position to speak at the one at Podcaster, whatever, the one in Anaheim, California.
Oh, Podcast Movement. Well, listen, here's one for you. I asked earlier on what's the favourite karaoke song. Well, we've got a meetup there, Podcast Movement. We do a meetup every year, free drinks, free food. We're doing it this year at a karaoke bar. So, Doug, you are 100% invited.
Well, only if you can do either Rapper's Delight or The Devil Went Down to Georgia. Those are my only two go-to songs. Everything else I suck at. As a guy I've spent the last 30 years of my life as a DJ, I don't even know the words to I Will Survive. I mean, I've played that song probably at least 3,000 times in my career. I don't know the words to many of the songs I play, and I know they're right in front of you, but I freeze up. I'm
embarrassed for you, Doug, if I'm honest. I'm completely embarrassed for you on that. Although, what I will say is, Rapper's Delight is the one song that I know on bass guitar that I can remember probably without any practice. So we could do that. We could do a duet. You can rap it, and I'll play it.
Well, that sounds like this is all of a sudden it's now a winning proposition. Mark, thank you again for being on the show. Thank you for your friendship, man. I mean, I know that we have not really had a chance to rap at length, but I have a feeling that aside from today, but I know that we are just at the start of something beginning to be very wonderful, Mark. Oh, for sure. And we've spoken a few times off air as well, so we'll keep that trend up as well. I'm going to try and do some time out in New York as well later this year. Do a good chunk of 2, 3, 4 weeks out there. So we'll get beer if it's not too far from you, is it? No, it's only a few hours. I would definitely make arrangements to make that happen. Yeah, if you're going to make the journey from over the pond, shall we say, then across the pond, then I will be happy to do it. Just a few hours on a bus. Oh, it's perfect, and we'll do that. That's a date. Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the value and the promise and the grandeur of Nice. Special thanks to Mark Asquith for being on the show. We'll make sure we put all of his info in the show notes once again. Thanks, Mark, for being here with us. Cheers, Doug. Brilliant. Loved it. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
Click on the Patreon link in the show notes. And for as little as $2 a month, you can help support the podcast and get access to fun bonus content. That's like half a cup of Starbucks coffee once a month, a grande, double shot, maybe a little flavoring. Thanks for listening. I mean, seriously, you need to cut back on your caffeine anyway.